on behalf of the Sinn Féin group, I just want to support this bill wholeheartedly, and I want to commend Senator Harman for all the work that she has done on this issue. It's extremely important. And I suppose as a former teacher, I've witnessed firsthand the dedication that both special education teachers and SNAs have to their students with additional needs or students with disabilities. And in fact, without the support of SNAs, in particular within our mainstream schools, we would not be able to include them in education. It's not that long ago that any student with an additional need or with a disability were sent off to an institution and were excluded from society. And thankfully we've moved a long way from that, but we still have a way to go to make sure our education system is fully inclusive, and that can only happen if the required supports are put in place within our mainstream schools to ensure that all children get an appropriate education, preferably in their local school alongside their siblings. But I suppose, as Senator Harman has said, that students who inflict an injury on someone, it's not intentional, and I haven't talked to any SNA or special education teacher who has said so, and I too dislike the word assault as they do. And I say that the injury often comes, or the lashing out often comes from a place of frustration, and is often due to a lack of the ability to communicate what they're feeling. And we have to go back to early intervention and community supports, which are severely lacking in our society at the moment. And if the children who require the supports get them at an early stage, they will progress. And a lot of these issues could be avoided where students get the proper supports like speech and language or OT, etc. A number of both teachers and SNAs have reached out to me to urgent support for this bill, which of course is absolutely no problem. And I mean, you know, one woman just struck a chord with me, like she's 2.5 years since she received an injury in school. It's quite a severe injury. She's undergone surgery in that time. She's had a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, and ended up with mobility issues as a result. But obviously her assault leave pay, and sick pay, they've all been exhausted at this stage. So she's currently unpaid. So she's reduced to her family dependent on one income only, where it was an two-income family. They have students, or children I should say, as students in third level, and that's a costly endeavour. So she's worrying constantly about money and meeting all of the expenses they have, especially as we're going through a cost of living crisis. But it's also the fact that she's lost her independence. I mean, she's not earning anymore. So she's financially dependent on her spouse. And that puts any person in a precarious position. But it's also the loss of social contact, of getting up and going out to work. So there's a lot of different issues there. And, you know, she requires a lot of support. And she has anxiety as a result of what happened to her. And she worries then about the day-to-day issues of the loss of income as well. So, I mean, I do think something has to be done to address the situation. It's not fair that any person who is injured while doing their job should end up that, you know, not having their medical costs covered, having their leave pay cut off at a certain point when they're not fit to go back to work. It has to be extended to cover the period for when they're medically unfit. And we have to recognise that other supports may be required, like psychological supports or specialist supports, like physio, whatever it be, and they should also be covered. The person who suffered the injury should not actually be out of the cost of those. And as the bill says, early retirement options should be available in the case of long-term or permanent incapacity return to work. And I know Minister and Senator Crowe referenced that work has been done on this to look at all of these issues and to change the legislation. And it is very important that it's done in consultation with the unions and ensuring that, you know, that the people who are most affected by this, that they are listened to and the changes made. And I know, Minister, then you outlined a number of supports that are available to people who have suffered an injury. And I just want to make sure that, you know, every staff member should be aware of the supports and how to access them, and that can sometimes be an issue too, where people don't know. But as I said, I'm fully supporting this bill, and I commend Senator Harman again. Thank you.